It feels like, in a weird way, we're becoming more independent, and there's somewhat of a cost to that. And actually, my friends that are struggling the most in their lives are those that have the least dependence on a village. So I always wonder if we need to ladder up to the universe, i.e. me, my family, maybe my village, maybe my country, the planet, the universe, and God.
The metaverse?
Yeah, and like God.
The multiverse? Yeah, so let me just react to that. Mm-hmm. There have been studies about the psychological effects of this kind of life, basically the social media too early in one's life force that operates. But I don't know. I don't want to be the person who says, in my day, we did it right. And you youngins don't know what you're doing and you're all going to, I mean, I've seen the films of officials smashing pinball machines with sledgehammers saying it will be the death of the next generation because they're not studying, it's gambling. You see people burning rock and roll records. You know, we've seen this, and I don't want to be that guy. I'd rather be the person that says they're going to create a whole other reality that was not my reality growing up. And I don't know that I can or should value judge that. When they come up in the ranks, they'll be mature adults. They'll figure out what the rhythms are of that world. And I will say, however, that if you go far enough back, no one ever traveled anywhere. You spend your whole life not going more than 30 miles from your hometown, a couple of hundred years back. So now people do actually communicate with countless thousands of people around the world. So it's different. I'm not value judging it, but it's different. And you're exposed to different ideas. Maybe it tribalizes you more, or maybe it softens you. It has the power to do both. What concerns me is because when I post to social media, I've learned the art of not expressing an opinion because I don't care what your opinion is. I don't care that you have my opinion. What I care about as an educator and especially as a scientist is that your opinion is based on objective reality, objective truths. If you have an opinion where the foundation of it is what? Then you're just floating. And then if you rise to power of laws and legislation, and then you shape a society based on what you think is true or want to be true rather than what is objectively true, that's a recipe for the unraveling of civilization as we know it. So this loneliness bit, I don't know how to comment on that. I don't have the expertise, but I do know that I don't want to be the person on the rocking chair. Get off my lawn, you know.
And I guess I've been trying to figure out if I need to try and make sure my life ladders upwards.
Oh, let me get back to that. Yeah. So it may be that the most important role of church wasn't to give a specific recipe for how you pray, or again, who you pray to, or when you pray. Maybe that wasn't its greatest value. Maybe its greatest value was the community that it created. Mm-hmm. Everyone comes together, and they're all in one room at the same time. That's not happening today. Like you said, people are less religious today than ever before. There are many people who were once religious would today say they're spiritual, which means they're separated from the rules and regulations that typically dictate how you behave within a religion. But the fact is, you're talking about going upwards. So you have your city, your community, your neighbors, and your church, your synagogue, your mosque, your temple, whatever is the place where you gather with some frequency. That surely has value because we need each other. I'm jealous when you drive down the country road and there's a deer just walking around. And I'm thinking, society collapsed. That deer is just fine. The deer was born in the woods, is finding food, is grown up. Whereas I need other people to survive in this world. I don't know how to hunt. I don't know how to skin game. I don't know how, I like knowing that there's a quart of milk waiting for me on the grocery store and ready to eat cereals. We have an interdependence as never before.
Mm.
And how do we maintain that without scattering to the winds?
You said you lost both your parents in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
As someone that knows so much about the universe and objective truth and reality, how do you contend with grief in that scenario? But also, how does that change you in any way?
It did, a little bit. Not as much as I thought it might have. My father was 89 when he died. That was 5 years ago. My mother was 2 days shy of her 95th birthday. So so I'm putting myself like right between them in my life expectancy. I think I'll get to 92.
Good.
It's the average of those two, So when you die at that age, it's sad, but it's not tragic. So that's an important distinction for me. A tragic life is a life that could have been lived, but through act of war or negligence or negligence of the person or of others, the life is cut short. Then that's tragic. It's a life not fully lived. But if you lived a full life, they were married 50-something years, it's sad, but it's not tragic. In fact, it's not even sad. It's something to celebrate. And so I miss them. I miss them more than I thought I would, because they carried quite a bit of wisdom with them. My father was active in the civil rights movement. My mother was a gerontologist. So they both cared very deeply about the plight of others. And I'm their son, the astrophysicist. So I go off with my head in the sky, but I was anchored into the human condition and anchored to think about it, to care about it. And when I encountered things in modern life, I wonder what my mother would say about that. I wonder what insights my father, and they're not there. I don't have them for that. So the way it's changed me is, it has put a greater expectation of me on myself to make sure I have wisdom that I can share with my kids, my 2 kids, the kind of wisdom that I gleaned from my parents, so that, again, this is not wisdom of what car to buy or what job to have, because they have other values. They have other expectations of society. But in terms of human-to-human interaction, in terms of love, in terms of challenges in life and overcoming them, some of those are timeless. Some of those are, how to navigate difficult people, how to appreciate nature so you don't take it for granted. One of the things I liked about Joyce Kilmer's poem on a tree, it's about a tree. And we've all seen trees. So why does this matter? Because it takes an artist, a poet, a writer, a sculptor, a painter. For me, the artist's job is to encourage us, stimulate us to pay attention to things we might otherwise take for granted. Because so much of life is what you might just walk by and not even give it any thought. And so I don't walk by trees without thinking something about that poem.
What is the poem?
I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowering breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who ultimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree.
But only God can make a tree. I spend so long these days thinking and talking to people about what all of this means. And I've got more and more. I saw you talking about the simulation theory once or twice, and I started to fall into that that whole of thinking.
Oh, yes, you gotta, step outside every now and then, and smell the roses.
But you said you wouldn't be surprised if people found out the universe is simulated by some sort of advanced life form.
Yeah, given what we can now compute, throw in quantum computing on top of that. We don't have this power yet, but to make a world in our computer where the characters in that world believe they have free will, and then they conduct themselves, and then they invent computers, and then they make a world inside of their computer, and where their characters think they have free will, and then then it's this simulated universes all the way down. And close your eyes and throw a dart. Which of these are you going to get? The first universe that invented the simulated universe, or the zillion ones that followed? The dart's likely to hit one of the others. But my escape hatch from that is, since we do not yet know or have the power to make a perfectly simulated world, it means we are either the first universe that's real that hasn't created one yet, or we're the last universe that hasn't evolved yet to have created one of its own. Because all the middles have the power to create one. So that takes it, a zillion to one against us to maybe 50-50.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
So I'm a little more comfortable that way.
Comfortable.
Yeah. I sleep a little better at night.
But I guess it wouldn't matter anyway if we were.
It wouldn't matter. If we're completely simulated, what do you care? You're living your life. I know we don't want to believe that there are puppet strings on us. Part of me thinks that, though. Just when everything on Earth is kind of stable. Oh, COVID shows up. Oh, so this is the programmer saying, the Earth is too boring now. We got to spice it up a bit. They throw in a pandemic. Okay, a once in a century pandemic. Now we're entertaining for them. What do we do? Who gets vaccinated? Who doesn't? Who's going to fight? Who dies? Who lives? Okay, so then we kind of get through that. We get the vaccine. Okay, we're just calming down off of that. And they said, oh, let's make a billionaire real estate developer from New York City the most powerful person in the world. Let's stir the pot again. And so now there's a whole other set of pot stirring that's going on. So that's kind of consistent with a snot-nosed alien kid in the parents' basement programming our existence. That's what I would do. I would throw in interest. There's a game, Sim City.
Yeah.
I played that. That's how old I am. Sim City. So you are mayor of this city, and people can vote you out of office. So you have to do things that make them happy. And there's an opinion poll that's there. And if you spend too much money here, you're not spending money on the schools. That's bad. But then there's crime goes up, and you're realizing, oh my gosh, in even this simple simulation, so many interdependent phenomenon are taking place. Then things that happen, then Godzilla steps through and plows through the city. Okay, now Godzilla's not real, but it kind of is, because that would be a disaster. Is it a flood? Is it fires? It's a thing that nobody saw coming. Okay, we are recording this interview on September 11th. I live 4 blocks from Ground Zero. That's Godzilla walking through the city. Well, how do you respond to that? You didn't know that was going to happen the day before. So realizing that in this game, it's only interesting to play when disastrous things happen, not too many in a row, because you have to be able to recover. So when I look at our world, I'm thinking the best argument I have for being in a simulation is how often some big disaster takes place. When it was the first World War, and then after that, the peace, pandemic, okay? The 1918 flu pandemic. Okay, then we got out of that. Second World War. Okay, we get out of that. It's the Cold War, nuclear holocaust. Okay, so that's that's me looking over the shoulder of the programmer.
Oh, God. I think I prefer the world where I feel like I have free will and there's not.
Does it make a difference if you believe you have free will, even if you don't?
No, because I'll never know.
And the fun answer to that, ask me, say, do you have free will? Ask me that.
Do we have free will? Do you have free will?
What choice do I have? No, if you don't have free will, then you don't even have an option to say you don't. So you just live life. Just live your life so that the world is better off for you having lived in it.
And what does that mean for you? Like,
it means people are better off. The institutions are better off. People are happier, healthier, wealthier, safer, better fed. That rationality matters in politics and lawmaking. And that will help to ensure stability of anything you build going forward. But yeah, that's all I mean. It's not complicated. And you were talking about meaning before. I stopped looking for meaning decades ago because I realized any of us has the power to make meaning in life. If you're going to look for meaning, are you looking under a rock, behind a tree? It's as though meaning is sitting there waiting for you to find it. Oh, I found meaning. There it is. Now my life is complete. That feels so powerless on your own destiny. Whereas I make meaning. I want to learn something today that I didn't know yesterday. I want to lessen the suffering of someone today compared with however that person was living yesterday. I want to use what I learn to well up within me and manifest as wisdom. Because information is not really useful until it becomes knowledge. And then knowledge is good. You can show off if you have a lot of knowledge. That's what these game shows do. But in the end, the best use of knowledge is when it becomes wisdom. And wisdom, people say, oh, I don't like getting older. I want to be young again. I don't want to be young again. When I was 30, I was an idiot. Even when I was 30, I thought I was brilliant, right? So don't get older unless you have wisdom to show for it. It's when you don't have something to show for your age, you want to be younger. You're just getting old with nothing to show for it. But I continue to learn things every day, passively and actively. Passively is you just notice, open your eyes sometimes and see what's happening, where things are headed, what they're doing. You learn. Not all things you learn are good. And if they're bad or need adjustment or need help, do something about it if you can. So that's how I derive meaning. Hence my tombstone. Be ashamed to die unless you've scored some victory for humanity. There's the meaning for you.
There's a whole class of billionaires that are trying to live forever now. And I think we are on the verge of being able to extend life potentially indefinitely. Yeah,
we're looking for the date. It's called the escape velocity. Do you know about that phrase? It exists in astrophysics, of course, but the escape velocity for Earth, for example, is 7 miles per second. So escape velocity in astrophysics is the speed that you launch something so that it never comes back, no matter how hard the gravity tries. Okay? So every object has an escape velocity. The escape velocity in aging is, the idea is there is a generation yet to be born, but in the very near future, who will not only live longer than the previous generation. So here's a cleaner way to say this. Every year, you can expect to live 1 month longer because knowledge about human physiology has gotten better. Okay? Just think about it that way.
Yeah.
And so we know what to eat, what not to eat, how to exercise, how to not over-exercise, how to maintain your health, your health and physiology. All right. There will come a day where every year that you're alive Medicine has figured out a way for you to live an extra year. That's the escape velocity. So every year you live another year. And after that, it could be every year you live 2 years. So that's the escape velocity. So it's not just everybody lives forever today. It sort of works its way into the population. And yeah, I don't want to live forever. I don't. Take me off this earth. I still have more to give, more books to write, that in my judgment would make the world better than it currently is. So I don't want to die before I get as much of that done as I can.
But are you scared of death?
No. Although that's easy to say because I'm not at death's door. And I had someone rationalize with me, which is, they made a potent argument. I can say now with another 20 years life expectancy, 15, 20 years, that I don't fear death. But if I'm on my deathbed and someone says, if I can wave my hand and you can live another year, would you? The answer is probably going to be yes. And at the end of that year, I don't know if my sentiments about life and death will change on my deathbed. I know my mother, there's a point where she couldn't swallow and she didn't want a feed tube. And she said, my time has come. They put me in palliative care and then hospice. And she was dead 10 days later. So she was in charge of her. They could have fed her with a tube and she would have been completely healthy for another, 5 years perhaps. But no, she raised 3 kids, 50-year marriage, happy life, stable life. And yeah, I'm good with that. So the billionaires, that's ego for sure. If you live forever, there are other people